What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. And I thought we'd try something out a little bit different with regard to the price data. And that would be first 12 figures. I wanted to take a look at the prices, at least on eBay, for the first 12 figures. And I thought we'd break it down by character in each video. And if you guys like it, then I'll do more of it. If you don't like it, then this might be the only time we do it. But I thought we would take a look at Princess Leia today, the first 12 Princess Leia. And the way I broke it down in the video is I wanted to show you kind of loose figures, what they cost ungraded in kind of near mint condition, just the accessory, if I can find some, eBay price data for that. And then we would take a look at different grades, both with AFA and CAS, Collector Archive Services, different grades for both of those companies. For loose graded figures, ungraded mint on card. There wasn't a lot of recent data for mint on card graded, but I did find one, and we could talk just generally about it. There's obviously so much variation between grades and card backs and things like that, that graded mint on card is going to be all over the map. But for those of you who are just starting out, like me, I don't have a lot of Princess Leia stuff. I just thought it was kind of a fun exercise to kind of see what Princess Leia type stuff is selling for. And we all know that it's a character that continues to go up in price. I feel like first 12 in general are just going to continue to go up as new collectors are kind of brought into the fold as a result of all this great Disney Plus content. There's a lot of people out there that are collecting Star Wars action figures that were not collecting Star Wars action figures 2 years ago. And we can thank a lot of that due to the Disney Plus content, I think. Certainly there's other factors involved, socioeconomic, more disposable income from not going out over the last 12 to 18 months. But I do think that the broader pop culture with regard to TV shows in the Star Wars universe and their success, particularly, especially The Mandalorian, it's brought, people with good disposable income, kind of in their, late 30s and into their 40s and even 50s, I would imagine. Folks that remember growing up with these figures, they're now collecting them. So I think that is driving a lot of the price appreciation for these figures, along with just broader inflation, things like that. All the stuff we've talked about in the past that I won't rehash here. But let's take a look at Princess Leia. And in general, her accessory, you have to be really careful because there are a lot of repros out there. If you can find some trusted sellers that have, if you're just looking for an accessory, clearly I would recommend going to Rogue 5 Vintage Toys on Facebook. Chris W. and those guys, they are always listing different accessories. And, the Princess Leia's blaster is one that a lot of people need. And it's kind of a, dark blue black. Obviously, it was reused. I'm not going to dig into all the different molds and all the different factories and all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in kind of comparing the different blasters, I would encourage you to go to Imperial Gunnery. That's the best resource I've found for checking to see whether the weapon is legitimate or not. But in general, what I've found on Facebook, or excuse me, on eBay, is that just the accessory, if it's a vintage original, it can sell for anywhere from 75 to about $100. This one sold at auction for $90, 30 bids, $5 shipping, so about $95. Another one here, this seller actually has two more still available. Again, I'm assuming that they're legitimate. It looks legit, but you never know. So you want to double check and make sure, and you can show them doing the float test there. The problem is now the float tests, the repros are so good that they can pass the float test. So that's not the end all be all. Here is a really good guy. This is the kind of thing that you'll see on the Imperial Gunnery. It's a very detailed breakdown of all the different molds and colors and all the kind of EPM marks as part of it, different versions. So you can use those guys online, and Imperial Gunnery is probably the best for that. So this seller had 10 of them. 2 of them have sold. He's got them listed for $80 with free shipping, so a little bit less. And like I said, just check out Chris W. and those guys at Rogue 5 if you just need the accessory, because occasionally one of these will pop up. If you're looking for a loose complete figure, this one was a C9 Plus condition. It sold for about $300. That seems a little high, given that we're going to look at some that are in very clean condition and already graded that have sold for this price or less. So this one was a very beautiful example. Don't get me wrong. And the other thing is that this was a no COO version, which was probably like the Palatoy factory. So the no COO Leia I've found is a lot more expensive than like the Taiwan or the Hong Kong. So again, there's going to be some price variation depending on which country makes it, but the no COO in general tends to command higher prices. That's been my experience anyway. But this was a beautiful example. That one again sold for $300 roughly, or about 220 Great British pounds. That same seller had this one that was 220 pounds, best offer accepted. So again, I've seen them for sale on Facebook for less than this. This is definitely eBay prices type thing. But for a really nice, clean, complete example, I would say that, you can look at maybe on the low end, if you get lucky and you're willing to deal with some slight wear, you might get it in the high 100s, like 175 to, 185. In general, though, I would say 200 to 250 is a pretty good price point for a really nice example that's ungraded. But there are exceptions, and you can even find some graded examples that are less than that. So here's one that was sold by Jeff Jacob, who we've talked about recently, and his missing Lily Letties. I actually just bought a graded comic from him in an auction last night, so I'll be showing that here soon. This was a 2-line Hong Kong Princess Leia. That was an 80 plus grade. That one sold for $162. So an already graded one, 80 plus. That was a great deal. That was a really, really good deal, I thought, for a graded Hong Kong. Here's another one that Jeff had for sale. This was CAS 85 grade. And again, this was a Hong Kong 2-line. This is the most common, just the standard Hong Kong. That one sold for $213. Again, a very, very fair price at auction. Here was another one that was from a different seller, CAS 85 grade. And I think this is one that we covered in my market update video earlier this week. I can't remember, but it looks familiar. $304 was the winning bid on that one. And then we'll switch over to AFA. This SW seller, again, we've talked about some of the pros and cons of some of his listings, but this one was AFA 70 grade that sold for $177.50, which seems a little steep for a 70 grade, but I think for any AFA Princess Leias, that's probably kind of your starting point, is about 150 to 175 for even like a 70 grade. Here's an 80 grade that sold for $300. This was the Taiwan. It's got that softer paint features to the face, the eyes, and the eyebrows. But that was a brown hair and brown belt version, just a slightly lighter shade to the paint colors. Anyway, that's the Taiwan. That's a really nice one. That one sold for $300 plus $8 shipping. Here was another Taiwan that was 80 plus. Again, it's got softer, a little bit darker paint to the eyes, but still a little bit, softer, not quite so sharp as the Hong Kong. But anyway, that was an 80 plus with an older case. That was $300 best offer accepted. So that gives you a rough price range for a high grade Taiwan. 80 plus, would be kind of $275 to $300. Here is an AFA 80 loose graded Hong Kong. You can see some, a little bit of paint wear around the eyebrows. That's a common problem. Also, the other big common problem for a lot of Leias is the overspray around the hands, from going from the skin over the sleeves, around the wrist. So that's something to look out for. But that one, the overspray issue doesn't seem to affect grading nearly as much as just paint wear and yellowing. So, but anyway, that one was an AFA 80 that sold for $255. Here was another 80 that sold for $311, also a Hong Kong. This seller had an AFA 85 Hong Kong with black hair and belt. That one was the new case style. That sold for $394. So again, just giving you some broad price points. I think that the kind of, it used to be the going rate for an AFA 85 was $300 to $350. I think that this $394 number to me is kind of the floor right now for a high grade 85 grade AFA 85 Leia, Princess Leia. Loose graded, I think really it's more like 400 and above now. I mean, oftentimes it's into the 5s and even 6s, and I think I found a couple that are like that. This one was an AFA 85 old case that sold for $617. You can see the paint overspray on that right hand right there, the flesh paint oversprayed onto the wrist, and it didn't affect the grade on this one. So this one is an example of what I was talking about earlier. And even the limbs on this one are a little bit pinkish. It's got a little bit of pinkish, discoloration. If you look at the torso for Leia versus the legs, I mean, that's starting to come, it's starting to kind of degrade a little bit. So, and this is probably an older grade, and it's not a archival case. So be aware that, some of these older graded, loose graded AFA or CAS graded Leias, that they can discolor, after grading. It's something we've talked about with stormtroopers and Hoth stormtroopers and Leia, obviously. So this to me is an example of an overpay. I wouldn't pay $617 for one like that looks like this, where there's an obvious color difference between the torso and the limbs. This is, to me, I think if you were to crack this figure out and resubmit it for grading, it would get an 80 or an 80 plus. It's just had some discoloration since then. That's my personal opinion. I mean, who knows if I'm right on that, but I do think that that's overgraded now. It's probably, again, just degradation from sitting in the case. Before we dig into some packaged examples that have sold, I wanted to show you also a couple of graded bootlegs. This is one I still don't have a Polish Leia. I've got so many different Polish bootlegs, but I don't have a Leia yet. This is a static example. The Leia bootlegs are very expensive now. That's another character that's really gone up a lot in price. This was a CAS 85 grade, older case, but a really nice example of a static Polish figure from like 1985-ish, 86, somewhere in there. That one sold for $409. And then the other one, this is the one I bid on. I lost out. This one was a Hungarian CAS 85, no weapon. So it's missing the weapon. You can see it says bootleg with no weapon. CAS 85 grade, really nice figure. That one sold for $336. That was a steal. That was a really good price in my opinion, even though it was incomplete, didn't have the bootleg weapon. But anyway, I just thought, since we're looking at all the different loose graded prices, kind of giving you a range of different grades, I thought we might as well tack these two on, since they're fairly these were both sold December 12th and January 14th. So just a couple of data points for graded bootlegs. In terms of package sales, this is a rare 2-pack. This is not something that you're going to find very often. And this is, those overstock KB Toys 2-packs, obviously really beat up, but which is a common problem for these 2-packs. But a very cool item that was at auction, and very rarely do you see these at auction. Usually, when Princess Leia is packed into these 2-packs, you're talking automatically $700, $800 and above for these KB Toys overstock, but you can see the KB Toys sticker there. But anyway, that one sold for $411, $25 shipping, and it says excessive denting, but it's got a full seal, which oftentimes too, these KB Toys, that the seals will fail on them because they're just kind of slapped together with no accessories. And but that's a really nice, that was a really good deal, because in general, what I've found is that no matter what the condition, if they're fully sealed and it has a really hard to find character like Princess Leia in there, that you're going to pay big money for it, for those overstock. And then in terms of other mint on cards, these are ungraded, but this was, I thought, a pretty decent deal. Hard to tell what it would grade at. If I had to guess, it'd probably grade a 70 at best. It had some litho damage from someone trying to take off the sticker. Unpunched though, but a nice ESB 41 back Leia. I think that if you had just left that sticker alone, it probably would be, worth a little bit more, but this is probably at best a 70. The blister was in really nice shape, but it had a crease there and then all that litho damage. But anyway, that one sold for $600. That's kind of like your floor, I think, for Leia. I think for, any kind of mint on card Leia, Princess Leia, you're going to be paying big money. The Return of the Jedi, Princess Leia, First 12 is easily the hardest to find. And even in low grade, those can be several thousands of dollars. It used to be kind of 2,000. Now it's more like 3,000 for a nice Return of the Jedi in good condition with Princess Leia. It's just one of those figures that was not produced in big numbers. Here was a unopened, I can't tell what card back it is, but it looks like a 12 back, and hard to say what the grade was. It looked like it had maybe some cracking to the blister based on the photos, but this one still sold for $1,500 for a 12-back Leia. It says, slight plastic damage, pushed in but not cracked or broken. The edge is a little rough, but never opened, and it's original. And so it sold for $1,500. with $11 shipping. So probably like in 70 grade-ish condition. So that's probably, I mean, that's easily, I think, your floor for a 12 back Leia is $1,500. It's very, very difficult to find it for less than that, unless it's really severely beat up. Here's another one that sold. This one was a 41 back survival kit Leia. It's probably like 70 grade condition. It had some creasing, things like that. Maybe 75. I don't know. It depends on how generous the grader feels that day, but it had, some pretty significant creases to it. That one sold for $800 on 19 vids on February 6th. So that just closed yesterday, but a beautiful 41 back ESB. And then finally, here was an AFA 70 21 back B. That one sold for $1,300. Best offer accepted. I mean, I've very casually followed Princess Leia mint on cards, and I've bid on a couple, and I've thought about bidding on a couple. But, for a nice high grade 80-ish condition, you're going to be in the, I think at a minimum these days, no matter what the card back is, but it's like an ESB is probably your best bet for an AFA 80-ish kind of condition. You're probably talking minimum $1,200 to $1,500 for an ESB, depending on the card back. But 21 back, obviously, ESB is going to be more expensive. And then once you start getting to the Star Wars 21 backs and below, it gets really expensive. But it's odd because, the 12s and 21s and 20s are going to be very expensive for Leia. The ESBs maybe, your best bet for a reasonably priced high grade mint on card Leia. And then once you get back to Return of the Jedi or Tri-Logo, they're extremely expensive. I mean, multiple thousands of dollars for the ones I've seen sell on Facebook recently. So, but anyway, I just thought it was kind of a broad topic. Looking at loose graded, ungraded mint on card, graded mint on card. As I have fairly recent data, I'm happy to do this for other characters if folks found this to be of interest. If not, then I won't do it again. But let me know what you think. Please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. To all my existing subscribers, as well as my Patreon supporters, as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.